Jamal's little fingers gripped the chalk like it was treasure. He was 6, crouched on the edge of the driveway, carefully drawing a bright green dinosaur with blue spikes. His tongue peeked out from the corner of his mouth as he focused, humming a cartoon theme under his breath. The afternoon sun bounced off his smooth skin, making the colors on the concrete pop even more. His mother watched from the screen door, smiling to herself. It was just another quiet afternoon in their neighborhood. At least, it was supposed to be. That's when the black SUV rolled in. It wasn't familiar. No decals, no license plate. The windows were pitch black like government vehicles you see in movies. It crept up slow, deliberately, and stopped right in front of their house. Jamal didn't even notice. He was too busy giving his T-Rex tiny teeth. 2 men stepped out, both white, both tall, both wearing sharp navy blue uniforms with one thing on them, a bold patch that read, HOA. No name tags, no badges. Just mirrored sunglasses and the kind of body language that tried too hard to look official. Jamal's mother squinted from the doorway. "Can I help you?" she called out. The taller man didn't answer. He looked around like he was assessing a threat. The second one, thinner and twitchier, pointed directly at the driveway. "Unapproved markings on shared property," he barked. "What?" she replied, stepping forward. "Community violation. Graffiti on HOA maintained surfaces," the tall one added, still not looking at her. Before she could say another word, the twitchy one lunged forward and grabbed Jamal by the wrist. "We're taking him to HOA security," he said, already pulling the confused boy toward the SUV. Jamal froze. His eyes went wide. He wasn't hurt, just terrified. "Hey, let go of him!" his mother screamed, running toward them. The tall man stepped in her way, hand out like a stop sign. "Ma'am, step back. We are authorized." "Authorized to grab a child off his own driveway? Are you insane?" "Violation enforcement. Please cooperate." She pushed past him, reaching for Jamal's other arm. "He's 6. What the hell is wrong with you?" The twitchy man didn't flinch. "He'll be safe with HOA security." She looked around. No one else on the block seemed to be watching. The world had frozen. "Let go of my son," she shouted again, yanking hard. The taller man reached for her wrist. That's when the front door creaked open behind them. "Let him go," a deep voice said calmly. Everyone turned. A tall, broad-shouldered black man stepped out. Faded jeans, old army t-shirt, coffee mug in one hand. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. The moment his eyes landed on the man gripping his son, something shifted in the air. "I said," he repeated, stepping forward, "let him go." The 2 fake officers paused. The twitchy one tightened his grip on Jamal's arm. "Sir, we are conducting official HOA." "That's my son," the man interrupted. "Sir, please stay back." "You want me to stay back while you drag my 6-year-old across concrete in front of my house?" He took another step. The coffee mug lowered. His voice never changed. It was calm but dangerous. Like he'd seen this before. Like he knew exactly what came next. "I've seen fake authority before. I've dealt with men like you in places where they didn't walk away." The taller man tried to keep the edge in his voice. "We're not looking for trouble." "Then you shouldn't have touched my son." The SUV sat silent behind them. The street was quiet. Even the birds stopped. All that could be heard now was Jamal's quiet sniffle. The man's tone dropped one final time. "You've got 3 seconds to let him go." And that's when everything snapped. The morning sun had barely begun to warm the pavement, and already the neighborhood felt like a postcard. Lawns were freshly cut, the mailboxes lined up perfectly like soldiers at attention, and a soft breeze carried the smell of fresh mulch and blooming gardenias. Inside the Daniels home, the calm was real. Ron sat at the kitchen table, fingers wrapped around a chipped army mug. The coffee inside had gone cold, but he wasn't drinking it for the warmth. He just liked the weight of it in his hands. His eyes were unfocused, staring through the window above the sink, watching the stillness outside. Every now and then he blinked hard. A flicker of something, maybe memory, maybe just muscle passed through his jaw. But he didn't say anything. PTSD didn't come with sirens or alarms. It came quietly, in early mornings, in the way he paused before going outside, in the way he scanned the street like it was unfamiliar terrain. But he was here, present, retired, a father, a grandfather, and that mattered more than anything else. From the other room, his daughter called out, "Jamal, baby, if you get chalk on your new shirt again, it's going straight in the trash." Jamal's giggle came as a response, followed by the slap of bare feet running through the house. A few seconds later, the front door creaked open. Ron turned slightly to look. His grandson was already on the driveway, chalk in one hand, juice box in the other. He was talking to himself, narrating his drawing like it was a live cartoon episode. His back curved as he bent down to start a new dinosaur, something purple this time, with huge claws. In the kitchen, the soft clatter of pans echoed. The scent of seasoned chicken and cornbread filled the house. Jamal's mom hummed quietly to a 90s R&B playlist playing from her phone speaker. Life was just easy in that moment. And for this family, easy hadn't always come naturally. They weren't activists, not the protest march, megaphone-holding kind. But that didn't mean they didn't know what the world was. Ron had lived it in the military. His daughter had felt it in job interviews where her name alone got second looks. Even little Jamal, just 6 years old, had already heard a teacher call him aggressive once for raising his hand too fast. Still, they lived with pride. Not the loud kind, the kind that was quiet but unshakable. Jamal had books about black inventors and astronauts on his nightstand. His mother made sure he knew their family's history, the real one, not the schoolbook version. And Ron? He didn't say much, but the flag folded in glass on his shelf, next to a photo of his fallen brothers, spoke loud enough. Outside, Jamal kept drawing, lying flat on his stomach now, elbows dusty, lost in a world of dragons and fire. The sun caught the curls in his hair, turning them gold. Ron stepped out onto the porch, one hand in his pocket, the other still holding the coffee mug. He squinted at the street, instinctively scanning left to right. Nothing unusual. Nothing wrong. The black SUV returned like it owned the street. It pulled up slow, engine humming like a low growl, windows so dark they reflected the sky. Jamal was still drawing, now halfway through a giant green dragon with flames coming out of its mouth. He didn't even notice when the vehicle stopped. But Ron did. From the porch, he narrowed his eyes. No license plate, no HOA decal, nothing official. Then the driver's door opened first. A tall white man stepped out, early 40s, shaved head, jaw clenched like a pit bull. The passenger followed leaner, twitchy, glancing around like a man who didn't know how to stay still. Both wore dark blue uniforms, crisp and clean, with one bold patch on the chest. HOA, no badge, no name tag, just mirrored sunglasses and attitude. Jamal's mother stepped out onto the porch, drying her hands with a kitchen towel. She saw them walk up the driveway without a word, eyes locked on her son. "Can I help you?" she asked, voice firm but calm. The bald one didn't answer. He just pointed down at the sidewalk. "Community violation," he said coldly. She blinked. "Excuse me?" The twitchy one pulled a small clipboard from under his arm. "Unauthorized markings. Sidewalk art is a shared surface. This area is governed by HOA regulations. Your child is in violation." "Oh, he's 6, she said sharply. "He's drawing with chalk. That washes off." "Doesn't matter," the tall one snapped. "Rules are rules." And then just like that, the twitchy man stepped forward and grabbed Jamal's wrist. "We'll escort him to HOA security. He'll be spoken to by the board." "What the hell are you talking about?" she shouted, rushing forward. Jamal's eyes widened. He froze, paralyzed with confusion. His tiny voice barely came out. "Mom!" The bald man blocked her path with his body. "Ma'am, step back! Let go of my son!" she screamed, shoving against him. "Ma'am!" His voice turned sharper, colder. "We're trying to prevent further escalation." "He's a child," she yelled. "You're dragging a child." We treat all violations the same, the twitchy one said, still pulling at Jamal's arm. Jamal started to cry. Then came the moment that cut deeper than anything else. The bald one turned, just slightly, and muttered under his breath, "These people never follow the rules." She heard it, every syllable. "What did you just say?" Her voice cracked, shaking with fury. He didn't repeat it. He didn't need to. That tone, that look, the slow scan of her home, her clothes, her son's brown skin. It wasn't about chalk. It never was. "This isn't your street to run wild on," the twitchy one added, tone sharp like a knife. "We're here to keep order." Her heart pounded. She looked around, hoping a neighbor would step out. Someone, anyone. But the street was still. Doors shut, curtains closed. She was alone. The bald one moved closer, looming over her. "You're obstructing enforcement. That's a charge." She stepped in front of Jamal. Her hands trembled, but she didn't move. "Let him go. Now." The man smirked. That's when the front door opened behind her. Ron stepped out, one foot landing heavy on the wooden porch. He didn't speak right away. He didn't need to. The moment the two men saw him, something shifted. His presence wasn't loud. It was lethal. Calm, still, but dangerous. The kind of stillness you feel before a storm breaks a tree in half. He walked down the steps slowly, coffee mug gone, hands empty now. "I don't know what authority you think you have," he said quietly, "but you're going to take your hands off my grandson." The twitchy one flinched just slightly. "Sir, step back." "No." The word landed like a command. "You're impersonating officials," Ron said. "Real HOA officers don't kidnap children." The bald man squared up. "We're enforcing neighborhood policy. If you interfere..." "You already crossed the line." Ron cut him off, taking another step. "You put your hands on a 6-year-old. You picked the wrong house." Jamal stumbled backward into his mother's arms. She clutched him tight, shielding his body with hers. Ron's voice lowered. "You've got 3 seconds to let him go." The twitchy one hesitated. The bald man's jaw tightened, and the clock started ticking. Ron stopped just a few feet from them now, his body steady, voice low. "Take your hands off my son." The twitchy officer froze for a second, his grip loosening instinctively. But the bald one stepped forward, chest puffed out like a warning. "We don't take orders from you," he said, puffing himself up. "This is HOA business. Step away or be charged with obstruction." Ron didn't flinch. His eyes flicked down to his grandson, still half hiding behind his daughter's legs, eyes red from crying. Then back to the man in front of him. "Let me ask you something," Ron said, tone sharp now. "Which HOA board do you work for?" The man's jaw worked side to side, but he didn't answer. No name tag, no ID, no badge, no clipboard showing violation policy, just a fake patch and an attitude problem. "Sir, that's none of your concern." "It is," Ron said, pulling his phone slowly from his pocket, "because now I'm recording." He tapped the screen. The red dot blinked. "Smile for the camera. Let's see how your boss feels about felony impersonation caught on tape." The twitchy one backed off a step. His eyes darted from the phone to Ron's face. The bald one stayed firm, but his shoulders shifted, like someone realizing they were losing control. Ron took a step closer. "You know how I know you're not real?" he said, his voice tightening. "Because no legitimate HOA agent grabs a child off private property. No one shows up in an unmarked car, wearing sunglasses and hiding behind a patch." He angled the camera toward the SUV. "Where's your plate? Your permit? Your authorization paperwork? You need to stop filming." The bald man snapped, his tone rising now, desperate. "You're on my driveway, threatening my family," Ron said. "You think I'm going to stop?" The twitchy one muttered something under his breath. Ron turned the camera toward him. "Speak up." The man scoffed. "You people always play the victim." Everything stopped for a second. The wind seemed to hold its breath. Even Jamal stopped sobbing, sensing something in the silence. Ron's eyes narrowed, slowly lowering the phone. His fingers curled slightly, a subtle twitch in his jawline. "What did you say?" His voice barely above a whisper. The twitchy man rolled his eyes. "Look, we're not here for your politics. Your kind always turns a simple warning into a circus." Ron stared at him for a long second. His shoulders didn't rise. His fist didn't clench. But something in his posture changed. That wasn't just an insult. That was an old wound getting reopened. "You ever serve?" Ron asked quietly. The man blinked. "What? Did you ever wear a uniform that didn't come from Amazon?" The man didn't respond. "Because I served 30 years in combat zones," Ron said, his tone now clipped, sharper. "I've stood face to face with men who had real power, and not once did I let them touch children." The bald one stepped forward again. "Sir," Ron held up a finger. "One more step and I swear to God—" He didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. The calm was gone now, replaced by that dangerous stillness. The stillness that came before action. He handed the phone to his daughter, still recording. "Don't stop filming," he said quietly. She nodded, holding Jamal close, her hands shaking slightly. The twitchy man looked over at his partner, uncertainty all over his face now. Ron stared directly into the bald man's eyes. "Last warning," he said, voice flat. "Let go of my family." And this time he didn't ask. The twitchy officer's hand suddenly jerked forward and gripped Jamal's wrist again. It happened fast, too fast for thought. The boy yelped in pain, stumbling forward as the man pulled hard toward the SUV. That was the final line. Ron moved like a machine that had just been activated. He didn't yell. He didn't warn. He simply launched forward, closing the distance between him and the man in less than a second. One solid movement, fluid, practiced, devastating. His shoulders slammed into the fake officer's chest with the full force of a freight train. The man's feet left the ground as Ron lifted him clean off the driveway. For one frozen second, the man looked weightless. Then, gravity did its job. The sound of bone and flesh hitting concrete cracked through the air. The man hit the ground so hard the clipboard skidded across the street. His sunglasses flew off, landing in the grass. He didn't move, groaning, dazed, maybe unconscious. Jamal stumbled backward, tears streaming down his cheeks. His mother caught him mid-fall, pulling him tight into her arms, shielding him again. Ron turned toward the second man. The bald one froze, stunned, but only for a second. He looked at his partner lying on the ground, then made the worst decision of his life. He turned to run. Ron didn't let him take 2 steps. He lunged again. One hand grabbed the man's shoulder, the other hooked behind his elbow, twisting his arm in mid-stride. Ron pivoted his body, using the man's own momentum against him, and slammed him sideways into the SUV with a brutal thud. The impact shook the entire vehicle. The man cried out in pain as his back hit metal, breath knocked out of him, arms pinned. He struggled, but it was useless. Ron pressed him hard into the car door. "Keep talking," he growled, inches from the man's ear, "and I'll add resisting." The bald man gasped. "You can't, you're not even a cop." "You're damn right I'm not," Ron snapped. "But I've taken down better men than you in places where backup never came." By now, doors were swinging open all along the street. Neighbors stepped out, eyes wide, hands over mouths. A man across the street held up his phone, already recording. Someone else shouted, "I'm calling the police!" Another voice, "Already did!" The chaos had drawn everyone out, but nobody stepped in. They didn't need to. Ron had already taken full control. Jamal's mother still had the phone recording. Her hand was shaking, but the camera was steady. Ron stepped back slowly, letting the bald man slide down the SUV like a drop bag of bricks. The man landed hard, gasping, holding his wrist. Both fake officers were on the ground now, groaning, beaten, exposed. Ron turned to face the growing crowd. His shirt was damp with sweat, his arms loose at his sides, chest rising and falling slow, like the storm inside him had passed, leaving only stillness. He looked directly into the phone camera now. "You messed with the wrong black family today." The words hung in the air like thunder. The bald officer tried to sit up. This is assault." "You want assault?" Ron snapped, stepping forward. The man flinched so hard he hit the SUV again. But Ron didn't touch him. He just pointed at the camera. "You grabbed a child, on camera, wearing fake uniforms, in front of half the neighborhood." The man's lips trembled. "It was just a misunderstanding." "No," Ron said. "It was a power trip. You thought no one would stop you." The twitchy one still hadn't moved. Sirens echoed in the distance, getting closer. Ron exhaled slowly, shaking his head. And now it's too late. He walked back to his daughter, placed a hand gently on her shoulder, then knelt to face Jamal. "You okay, champ?" Jamal nodded, still sniffling. Ron smiled gently. "Good, because nobody touches you. Not while I'm around." And the red recording light kept blinking. The sirens screamed louder now, bouncing off the houses like an alarm meant for the whole block. 2 squad cars whipped around the corner and skidded to a stop. Doors flung open. 4 officers jumped out, hands near their holsters, scanning the scene like they'd walked into a hostage situation. Ron stepped back immediately, both hands raised, calm and measured. The bald man on the ground whimpered, "They attacked us!" Jamal's mother stepped forward, still holding her phone. "They tried to take my son." One officer rushed to her. "Ma'am, is he okay?" "He's shaken," she said, holding Jamal closer. "But we've got everything on camera." The officer turned toward the 2 men slumped by the SUV. The twitchy one was still dazed, barely moving. The bald one sat clutching his arm, face twisted in pain. "IDs," the officer barked. They hesitated. "Now." Slowly, the bald man pulled something from his back pocket, a laminated card with no real seal, no barcode, nothing official. The second officer checked the patch on their uniforms. He looked up, face tight. "These aren't HOA officers." Ron spoke calmly. "They showed up in an unmarked SUV, no license plates, no authorization, grabbed my grandson off his driveway, claimed they were taking him to HOA security." The officers didn't waste time. Cuffs clicked tight around both men's wrists. The bald one shouted, "We're just doing our job." "Your job is pretending to be someone you're not," the officer snapped. Ron handed over his phone. "It's all recorded." Within minutes, the truth started to come out. Neither of the men had any official connection to the HOA. The SUV was registered under a fake shell company. The uniforms were ordered online. And the IDs? Laminated garbage with a fake board name. One of the real officers stepped aside, already on the phone with dispatch. That same day, an investigation launched. By the next morning, headlines hit local news. Men impersonating HOA officials caught targeting black families. Veteran father saves son from attempted abduction. Turns out, this wasn't their first time. The same 2 men had been spotted in 5 different neighborhoods across the state, all predominantly black. They used the same method: show up unannounced, cite fake violations, intimidate families, and attempt to extort money or assert control. One elderly couple had paid $500 on the spot just to avoid court fees. Another family had nearly lost their dog when it was taken for being off-leash on HOA property. But this time, they picked the wrong street. Within 24 hours, the video from Ron's daughter had gone viral. Millions of views, shared by celebrities. Hashtags lit up. #ProtectBlackChildren, #NotOnMyWatch, #FakeHOA exposed. News vans lined the street for days. Reporters tried to get Ron on camera. Some begged him for interviews. But Ron didn't want the spotlight. He stood quietly outside his home, arms crossed, watching as the last of the patrol cars drove away with the 2 fake officers inside. When one reporter finally caught up to him, mic out, camera rolling, she asked, "Sir, what went through your mind when you saw those men grabbing your grandson?" Ron looked directly into the lens, his expression calm but unshakable. "You don't grab a black child in America and walk away." And then he turned, walked back toward his family, and didn't say another word. A week later, the driveway looked different. Not because of the SUV marks still faint on the curb, not because of the scuff where one of the men had fallen, but because of the dragon. Jamal's chalk drawing the bright green T-Rex with blue spikes and tiny arms had been painted over in full color. Not erased, preserved. A local artist from the community came forward and offered to make it permanent. Neighbors donated paint. Some brought brushes. Others just came to watch. No ceremony, no press. Just quiet hands protecting a child's moment. Jamal stood by the edge holding his mom's hand, eyes wide as he watched the colors take shape again. His T-Rex was back fiercer now, bigger, stronger. Ron stood a few steps behind them, arms crossed, silent. He didn't smile. He didn't say much. But he watched every stroke like it mattered more than any battle he'd ever fought. And maybe it did. No one talked about what had happened, not out loud. But something had shifted. Cars slowed down when they passed the house now. People waved longer, watched closer, like they saw the family differently. Jamal didn't fully understand what had happened. Not yet, but he understood this. His dragon had survived. His family had stood their ground. And no one was taking him away. Ron finally stepped forward, placed a hand gently on his grandson's shoulder, and looked down at the mural. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The silence said enough. The streets still looked the same, but they'd never look at us the same again.